you're watching Gearz, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
You know, there's an old saying that you hear a lot. They just don't make stuff like they used to. And there is some truth to that. And old cars and guitars are a prime example of that. Matter of fact, there was a time when pretty much everything we bought was built right here in the United States by craftsmen that really cared about the quality of the products. And when you experience something that was built with that kind of pride and those kind of materials, well, the difference in quality is obvious. That's why there is such a demand for vintage stuff. But with all of the new technology and advancements that we've made over the years, surely it's possible to build something better today than we did 30 or 40 years ago, right? Right. But only if you blend that new technology with the tried and true techniques and craftsmanship that made the original stuff so good. This is not an easy line to walk, but it is possible. And a great illustration of that is the Cornwell ratchet that successfully combines 19th, 20th, and 21st century technology. Take a look. When designing or upgrading a ratchet, the first step is to lay out the design, and this isn't just randomly scribbled out on some napkin. Today you have to use state-of-the-art computer modeling to lay out every nuance of a new tool based on what the mechanic will need.
Starting with a forging drawing, and then we transfer that to a forged die, and then to a die sinker die. There's so many steps. We use AutoCAD, ANSI specifications, material specifications. We do all these volume calculations for our dies to make sure that they wear correctly. There's a lot more to this than I think the average person thinks.
Now, once the basic design is decided, the process goes from the computer back in time to the old school forging process, where metal dies are built to the computer specs, and then these dies are fit into a massive drop hammer that uses 3,000 pounds of brute force to forge the body and the handle of the ratchet out of steel. And this is where the craftsmanship comes in, not only to protect your fingers, toes, eyes, and ears, but also because bars of special alloy steel need to be heated in a furnace to a cherry red glow so they'll be pliable enough to be formed into the proper shape. Now, in spite of what it may look like, this isn't just mindless hammering. The state of the metal and the way it's hammered is very specific, requiring considerable amount of skill to do right, just like back in the old days.
If you get them too hot, yeah, they explode. I mean, scale, hot metal goes everywhere. So
there's a sweet spot there.
There is a sweet spot. And with my black glasses, I usually see that sweet spot because I know if by the naked eye you can look in there and it looks molten. If you have the darker glasses on, you just want that kind of nice orange, yellow glow. And then you want to take it out and hammer it.
When we're forging a wrench, or say a long ratchet, the material at the forging temperature will shrink 15 thousandths of an inch on the forging when it comes back to room temperature. So if let's say you have a 17-inch product that you're forging, it will shrink slightly over 1/4 of an inch when it comes back to room temperature. You have to build this into every dimension, radius, shank, volume calculation, all that has to be done. So there's quite a bit going on there.
The process of forging metal has been around for centuries, and it was used to build everything from swords to suits of armor. But it doesn't just shape metal. It also compresses the molecules in the metal to yield an incredibly strong, dense, superior piece of tool steel.
So Cornwell is known for their ratchets, and that's one thing, you've got to get that steel perfect.
Now, once the shaping is done, the newly formed blank is punched out and allowed to slowly cool. But it is a long way from being done, because now it needs to jump forward 100 years and blend that crude, old-school forging process with some new technology. Armed with state-of-the-art CNC machines and high-tech drills, the handles are machined for the ratcheting mechanisms. Now, due to the extreme precision of these modern tools, the tolerances can now be done extremely tight and accurate, resulting in an exceptionally high-quality tool.
In the past, they were 4 or 5 thousandths. Now they are 1.5 thousandths. You're taking a product that's running on a technology that's 100 years old, and then you put it on a vertical machining center that is 3 months old. That's just so that every moving part in there is supported as to, to the best of its ability.
Once the machining is done, the tools go back into the hands of skilled craftsmen who begin the tedious finishing process. Because of the heat and hammering that's involved in forging, the handle of a large ratchet will naturally be wavy. So each one is trued up by hand using a press and a very steady eye.
There's a lot of craftsmanship that goes into the product here. Again, due to the experience, the time that a lot of the employees have put in here, they know how to tweak the part just right, tweaking their fixtures, whatever they need to do.
From there, the tool is handed off to be finished sanded. Once again, with only trained hands and eyes guiding the process. When these guys say it's right, it's right. And only then do the tools move on to the next step. And there's always some that don't quite make the cut. After sanding, the tools are dumped into a vibrating polisher to smooth off any other rough edges and get them ready for plating. Once the polishing is complete, the chrome plating is next. And this is where the tools start to finally look like what you're used to seeing in your toolbox. After the plating process, the tools go into final assembly, where they're fitted with their ratcheting mechanism. But even these mechanisms are constantly being improved and refined to build a better tool.
The tolerances over time, now we run them on our CNCs, constantly improving.
So it is possible to make a better ratchet?
Yes, it is. And that's what we do.
Hey, welcome back to Gearz, where we have been talking about tools and why there is such a big difference between professional grade handmade tools and the cheapies that are stamped out on a machine overseas. And to help illustrate that, we have followed the journey that a Cornwell ratchet takes to become, well, a Cornwell ratchet, and it's pretty cool. But now the question becomes, how do you convince a budget-minded car guy or mechanic that something new is superior to that tried and true piece that's been in his box for 20 years. The only way you're going to do that is to let the tools do the talking.
I don't feel like any of this is work. This is all fun, it's all pleasure. I get enjoyment of seeing the ratchets. When promos come up, I'm just as excited about them as my customers are. So I think that's what helps me when I'm trying to sell.
There's some things machines can't do as good as humans can do still. As you can see, one of them's forging, and I believe for myself that forging, it should never change like that. Make the ratchets, keep them forged. It's a stronger steel.
I talk about the unique traceability on our ratchets and our sockets and all that. The fact that it's not just any regular old steel, we certify it as American steel. There's a lot of pride behind it. I think I can sell that pride to my customers. You know, the hand polishing of the wrenches. I don't know that any other company takes that much pride in every tool. Every tool is touched by a hand as it's being produced.
You know, you really have to have a feel for the application, because there have been quite a few things that we've added and taken away from product that was unnecessary, or hey, if we do this will hold up better. So, you know, it's just a matter of experience.
I first ask them, pick a ratchet on my ceiling. Tell me which one you think would suit you best. And when they pick that ratchet, I tear the ratchet all the way down. And when you do that, you see the pawl, and that no matter which side tightening or loosening, that full pawl is engaged. Where some other competitors, maybe they only have 2-3 teeth that are gripping at one time, where we have several teeth.
Do they make them like they used to?
No, we try not to make them like they used to. We make them better. So, no, it's true. I mean, the tooling's better, the tolerances are better. So what we have to do on every dimension here is add the shrink to it.
Yeah.
The second thing that we have to do is we have to do a volume calculation for every one of these cavities in the die itself. We have to make sure that that's going to flow correctly.
And once a person gets a grasp of the incredible amount of research and development that goes into designing a new tool, and add to that the craftsmanship and detail that it takes to hand build them, there's not a car guy or mechanic out there that wouldn't want to get their hands on this kind of tool.
There you go, Burns. Hey, man, I appreciate you, buddy.
Because there's only one place this kind of stuff is being built, right here in America.
But our main business, 99.9%, is with Americans. And if we're selling to Americans, we should make our product in America. That's what I feel.
I know when I pick up a product, I feel better when it says American made. It's crucial. We're not going to have anything if we don't have American made. I've said it to a lot of people that if we lose our hard line, we're no different than anybody else.
And now, Boost Tech, brought to you by ProCharger, the ultimate power adder.
When it comes to building power into an engine, most people know that the more dense, cool oxygen you can get into your cylinders, the more power you're going to make. And that's why turbos and superchargers are so popular, because they compress air to literally overfill your cylinders with oxygen and give you the potential for tremendous power, provided that air stays cool. The problem is when you compress air, it gets hot. And the hotter the air gets, the more of those dense, oxygen-rich molecules you lose. And you don't want that. Those are what you want. That's why you're compressing air in the first place. So you got a dilemma going on here. How do you solve it? That's where an intercooler comes in. Now, an intercooler looks like a radiator, which it kind of is, and you've got two basic types of intercooler. You have air-to-air and air-to-water. And of the two, the air-to-air is the most common because it's so simple and so efficient. This is the sort of intercooler most people use with a centrifugal supercharger or a turbo. Now, basically how it works, the hot compressed air goes in here, then it flows over the aluminum fins on the inside where it is cooled down by air flowing through the fins from the outside, just like a radiator. Then the cool compressed air comes out here, full of fat, thick, juicy oxygen molecules where it goes into your engine in the form of tire melting boost, which is the reason you bought a supercharger. Now, an air-to-water intercooler is a similar idea, but it's quite different because your hot compressed air goes in here, and then the intercooler uses water that runs through a radiator on the inside to cool down the air, and then of course it comes out here to the engine. Now, the drawbacks to using air-to-water intercooler is that you not only have to plumb in the water, but you also have to have a way to remove the heat from the water, because hot water is not going to do much to remove heat from the air. So you have to plumb in an auxiliary radiator to take the heat from the water, which then in turn takes the heat from the air. Yeah, it gets pretty crazy. That's why you don't see a lot of air-to-water intercoolers on street vehicles, unless you're going to use a root-style positive displacement blower like this. Now, these usually don't use any kind of an intercooler, and they sit right in the hottest part of the engine. So they've got some design issues, but that generally doesn't matter because they're either sitting out in the open or they're coming up through a hood, and that keeps them cool. The problem with these comes when you try to close a hood down over them like on a street vehicle. Fortunately, there's aftermarket companies that offer air-to-water intercoolers for root-style blowers to help get those temperatures down. Now, hopefully, this gives you an idea just how important an intercooler is to getting your supercharger to run as well as it looks and sounds. Because if you don't get those air temperatures down, your fancy blower, it's just whistling Dixie.
Now, Quick Tip, brought to you by E3 Spark Plugs, born to burn.
For those of you that follow us on social media, you know that just recently we lost our faithful furry companion in the shop, Domino, a 100-pound collie that after 13 years just went to sleep one night and didn't wake up, which is pretty much the way any of us would want to go. Now, if you watched the show at all, you saw him in action, hanging out, causing trouble, just being Domino, and we're very thankful we had him for 13 years. And that's today's quick tip. Make sure that you're spending a little bit of time every day with the people you love, your pets, those that mean something to you, because you never know when they're not going to be here. None of us are promised tomorrow. All we have is this moment right here today. So make sure that you're spending your time wisely, like Domino did. Hey, you want to put this one in for me? You want to put it in? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Show us a smile.
And you, up you go. Go. Good boy. Hey, Domino, what are you doing? Sometimes we can learn a lot from a dog.
And now, Parts Bin.
If you're into hot rodding, you know that fuel injection is all the rage right now. But that doesn't mean that carburetors aren't still popular. So popular, in fact, that Holley just came out with a whole line of Street Demon carburetors. Check these out. Now, the first thing that grabs you is the unique shape. Kind of looks like a cross between an old Holley, an Edelbrock, and a Carter. But the features of these are very unique to the Demon. First of all, they have a one-piece aluminum top, which makes it very easy to hook up and adjust. They have triple stack primaries, which gives you incredible throttle response and fuel economy, almost like that of a fuel injection. Then, of course, they have these very unique secondaries that when they open, they suck some serious air. Now, of course, if temperature is a problem, you can get a Demon with a composite main body, which will drop your fuel temperatures 20 degrees. And of course, if you don't like the polished look, you can get a Demon fully black, which kind of matches the name. If you're ready to take your carbureted engine to the next level, the Holley Street Demon can help you do that. If you spend any time in a shop or a garage, there is one thing for sure. You're gonna have to deal with cleaning up dirty, grimy parts. The problem is, a lot of degreasers not only remove the grime, but can also damage paint, plastic, metal, even your skin if you're not careful. Well, Gunk has a solution to that with this all-purpose concentrated cleaner and degreaser. Now, you can use this stuff full strength on nasty, crusty parts to clean up heavy grease and oil, or you can dilute it and use it to clean your shop floors, your tools, or your toolboxes. The best part is it's non-toxic and biodegradable, so you can even use it on yourself. If you're looking for a way to clean up your junk, the name to always trust has been Gunk. Racing has always been one of the best ways to test and develop parts for high-performance vehicles because it quickly shows if a product really performs like it should or if it just looks good. So when Air Raid started developing their ultimate cold air induction system, it was only natural that they head for the racetrack. And what they came up with is the MXP air intake system. Now it starts with a one-piece molded air box that fits right in place of your stock restrictive unit and utilizes a lot more cooler outside air. Then inside, they have their legendary filter that's washable and reusable, so you're going to get great flow and filtration through that. Now, to get all that cool air to your engine, they have a computer-modeled air intake tube, which is going to give you great flow, and it also retains your stock mass airflow calibrations, so you don't have to recalibrate anything. You just bolt this on and go. Now, when Air Raid put this on the new Camaro and dynoed it, they picked up 8 horsepower and 10 foot-pounds. Yeah, not bad for just a bolt-on deal. If you're ready to open up your engine and really let it breathe, Air Raid has an MXP air intake system waiting for you.
What are you working on? Brought to you by Woodward Fabrication, selling quality metalworking equipment since 1966.
Today's What Are You Working On comes from Alan Parker from West Haven, Utah. And Alan says he has a lot of projects. He's got a 36 Ford Coupe, a 65 and a 68 Mustang, and a 66 Ford F-250. So he said he had his restoration road planned for many years to come. That is until his youngest daughter asked him, "Daddy, would you help me build an early Mustang?" What father could pass that up? So he said the search was on for an early Mustang. But Alan found out that finding those early Mustangs isn't near as easy as it used to be. So he said the search ended in his own backyard with this. Now, this is a 66 Mustang that he was saving for parts. but not anymore. Now, he says the plan is to make it a father-daughter project, and she wants to stick in a late model 5.0 Mustang engine with the T5 transmission and add air conditioning, disc brakes, all the good stuff to make it a good, reliable daily driver. That is going to be a cool project. Now, if you take a really good look at this car, you can see that it's actually really solid. If you look past the faded paint and some of the surface rust, you can see there's no rot on this car, which is probably why Alan had the car tucked away in the first place. Yeah. Now, the cool thing is, it is great to see a father-daughter project, and we can't wait to see what you guys finally come up with. So to recognize such a cool project, we hooked up with our buddies at Woodward Fab. We're going to give you one of these mechanics vices. Then we're also going to give you one of our project planning books so you can keep track of the project and you'll be able to service it once it's finished. Then we hooked you up with a couple of Gearz t-shirts. One's Gearz and one is Sergeant Rock. And we're going to let you guys decide who gets which one. Also, we're going to give you an O'Reilly gift card to help offset a little bit of the cost of that project. Now, for the rest of you guys, if you want to get your project featured on the show, get in on this. You got to send it to Gearz Nation and show us what you got. We can't get it on the air unless you show us your project. And as you can see, it doesn't have to be finished. Heck, these guys have barely started. It just has to be a cool project that you're doing yourself. Also, don't forget to check us out on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We've always got cool stuff going on there. All right, that takes care of it for us today. You need to get out there and start working on something and then go smoke the tires on it. In the meantime, I'm going to see if Alan will sell me that 36 coupe. We'll see you next time.